Episode 3 of The Last Ride has come out. It's been out for 2 days, man, and this review or opinion-based video, it may be 2 days late, but it's going to be 2 days greater. And the reason why is I've seen comments, and a lot of people say that this wasn't the best episode compared to the first two. But for me, this meant a lot more to me than any of the other episodes, and I'll tell you why right now. Let's go. What's up, everybody? It's the Sports Code, aka Aiden, and welcome back to another video. This is going to be episode 3 of The Last Ride review, Undertaker documentary. It came out 2 days ago, to pretty much to this time, I believe. So again, apologies for this being 2 days late. If you guys haven't checked my channel update video, I highly recommend that you check that out, and you'll see a further reason why it's been 2 days later than I expected it to be. But nevertheless, man, it is here, and it's better than late than never. That's what many people say. So we're gonna get into this now. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Sports Code YouTube channel. You're still going to get at least one video a day out of me, so that's still going to be hopefully enough for everybody. And without further ado, man, turn notifications on, share the video and the playlist. We still got 2 episodes to go on this great journey of The Undertaker and his last ride. Now, we'll get started. Now, this episode was called End of an Era, and for me, it's a bit of a struggle to understand why this was called an end of an era, but I guess it's leading towards the Saudi Arabia match between, obviously, between the Brotherhood of Destruction and D-Generation X, which I can understand at that point. But a lot of people didn't rate this episode, and I can understand why, because it doesn't really reflect on what was happening in the present with The Undertaker. It was more reflecting on the great matches he had in the past. So obviously, after that match with John Cena, Undertaker believed that he could work more matches throughout the year, and he did do that. And he went to Saudi Arabia the first time, and he versed Rusev in a casket match. He did all of these matches. He worked Madison Square Garden one more time, and all of these things. And for that, I guess it was a proving point for the Undertaker that he can still do all these things at his age. And maybe it was to do it one last time before he left, or maybe it was because he had something to prove to himself and everybody else around him. And we all know that Undertaker is that type of person. I think it's been very, very released throughout this entire series that Undertaker is a very determined and very humble person, and he's willing to put everything on the line to make sure this company succeeds and the people within it succeed. And that's something you don't expect out of a top level talent, really, to make everybody else try to strive as well. But it's a team game sometimes, and he took it to the next level. So yeah, when he did the casket match, and he did the tag team match at Super Showdown and all of this, man, it was really instrumental to WWE at that point. And they needed star power for these shows, and Undertaker obviously was that star power. But he talked about wanting that match, wanting that next level match that will make him feel like it's time for him to go, where he could leave on a match where it's the Undertaker type level, where everybody sees him as a legend, as an icon, and what a way to leave as a legend, as an icon, as good as he once was. And this is why people had a big problem, because they started to talk about his past, really, about his matches with Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker at WrestleMania 25 and 26, and his matches with Triple H at WrestleMania 27 and 28. Now, for me, I didn't have much of a problem with this, because I've already been doing this for the last 2 episodes. I've compared his matches to Roman Reigns and with John Cena to Shawn Michaels. And the reason why I've done that is because I think it's important that you look at the past just as much as the present and the future, because we all know Undertaker is not at that peak level of competitiveness that he was with Shawn Michaels. And no, I don't think anybody would argue that. But at the end of the day, he wants a match fitting for him to take his leave. And at the end of the day, a match like Shawn Michaels is probably the match that he was looking for. A match where it was 30-40 minutes, it would go through the test of time. He'll be ready to say it's time to go. And he wanted that John Cena match to be like that. So looking back at the matches with Shawn Michaels and how amazing they were, and I'll say it every time that I need to say it, it was a fantastic, amazing match. It meant so much to the world. It meant so much to him. It meant so much to Shawn Michaels. And even the match after that, WrestleMania 26, which many people will consider second rate compared to the first, that was a fantastic match as well. It brought a new element with the no holds barred, tombstones outside, breaking tables. The match was poetry in motion, man, from the start to the finish. And I think that's what Undertaker was looking for, and I think he was a bit jealous that Shawn Michaels was able to find that, or was able to retire at a time where he was still at the top of his game, but he was willing to walk away from it. He was willing to say, eventually my time has come, and it may as well be now when I can decide it than having someone else decide it for me. I think that's been the Undertaker's biggest issue, is that everybody around him, including the fans, saying when it's his time to walk, when in reality no one knows, and no one should even be commenting on when it's his time, except for the Undertaker. Only the Undertaker can decide when it's his time to go. And I think that's the problem. I think that was the big issue here. As much as WWE fans want an Undertaker to live on forever, some wrestling fans, and we know some people from in the public eye and some people that are not in the public eye, will say that Undertaker should have left a few years ago. It sucks to see him like this, and it's just an opinion really, because many people would say, yeah, it sucks, and other people would say it wouldn't. But I think looking at those matches, you saw the level that he was at, especially with the Shawn Michaels matches, compared to the level where he was with Roman Reigns, and you know that there's a big difference, and it was a big shame when that happened. So that was basically the first half of that documentary, really, in a nutshell. He was looking at his past matches, and if I had to rate all of those matches, I think they were all fantastic. Obviously the Triple H matches wasn't as good in my eyes than the Shawn Michaels matches, but that Hell in a Cell was magic, and they talked about the end of an era back then to the end of the era now, and it shows the Undertaker, WWE is really good at promoting things, because the end of the era, about 8 years later, they're back. So yeah, that's amusing to me. But obviously the iconic picture of having Undertaker, Triple H and Shawn Michaels hugging each other after WrestleMania 28 when Undertaker beat Triple H in the Hell in a Cell match is one of the most iconic moments you'll ever see in a WWE ring, or in a WWE event, in a WrestleMania. And I think the friendship that they created on that day, that special day, was legacy, man. It was the greatest thing to happen in the world of sports, really. It's one of the most iconic moments in history. So yeah, like I understand why they did that, and it's all gonna push forward to that match, that tag team match. Now obviously they talked about it, WWE Super Showdown, and I said in the beginning of this video that there's a reason why for me this video meant so much. This episode meant so much to me compared to the other two. The reason why is because, if you can't tell already, a lot of people can't seem to tell, but I am Australian, man. I live in Australia, I'm born in Australia, and WWE Super Showdown was in Melbourne, Australia, man. And I've been to the live shows since 2009, so I'm not accustomed to seeing WWE's superstars in Australia. It's happened a lot, and it's going to continue to happen most likely once this pandemic's over. But the one person I never actually got the privilege to see, whether it's because I've missed a year or I started too late and he didn't end up showing up for the most part, was The Undertaker, man. He was the one superstar I didn't get to see. I saw my favorites, from John Cena to Triple H to Randy Orton, Kevin Owens. I've seen them all, man. I've seen my favorite superstars, but The Undertaker was that one. And that's what meant so much to me, is that I got the privilege to see The Undertaker before he decided to take his leave. And they didn't mention much about Australia in this episode, but just knowing what I know, knowing that it actually, we played a part, the Australian fans played a part in The Undertaker's documentary and played a part in his journey to find his last ride. It's a big moment, man, and I know people are going to say it's sentimental value to me. People are going to say it doesn't really matter where it was. It doesn't matter if it was in Saudi Arabia or Australia, whatever the case may be. But I'm sure if you talk to a Saudi Arabian person in their country. I don't know how to explain it, but if you talk to someone who lives in Saudi Arabia and they see this documentary, they're probably going to feel the same way that I feel, man. They're probably going to feel like we made an impact. We played a part in one of the most historic, iconic people in wrestling history, and it's fitting, man. And that show itself, WWE Super Showdown, it was nothing to be desired. I'm gonna be honest. I was there, and I think that's the big that's the part that makes me happy. I was there to see it, and my friends were there to see it, and we all saw it. And maybe watching this documentary, it just gave me a good memory of that night. And yeah, it was a good night, man. And I'm happy that I was able to be a part of that live, not just watching it. I was there, and that was the best part for me. But flash forward, it's not about me here. This is about the Undertaker. So yeah, they basically, it was a match between Triple H and the Undertaker at WWE Super Showdown, and it was a fairly decent match. I mean, they had to use weapons and stuff to make it a little bit more entertaining, because both of them are not at the level that they were back at WrestleMania 28. But they still put on a very good show, and Triple H ended up winning, which led to the tag team match, obviously. Now, a lot of people will say that Shawn Michaels should have never come out of retirement, and this match, that tag team match, was an example of it. I'll get to my opinions on that later on. But the fact is that that match was so enticing, because you have probably 4 of the people that started the Attitude Era, that started all of this wrestling history, that are actually still capable of wrestling in one match. And their star power, man. Shawn Michaels, he could wrestle when he's 70 years old, and people will watch, whether he sucks or not, because he has the star power. Same with Triple H, same with The Undertaker, and same with Kane. And for the most part, these guys will always attract a crowd, and I think that's the goal here for WWE, was to attract the crowd. Of course, it's a money-based business. They want people to watch, and they want to see the wrestlers they want to see, which is why John Cena is still around as well. There's so many people that you could say, yeah, WWE need to move on from, but at the end of the day, they can't, because they know that they will draw. Brock Lesnar's another example of it too. So with this match at Saudi Arabia, this entire feud really was coming to this one match between Shawn Michaels and Triple H versus The Undertaker and Kane. And I'm going to say what I thought before I watched this match. I was super excited when this match came around, and I watched it live. I watched it with my friends as well. And to be honest, I was very excited for this match. Not because I thought it was going to be some legendary, fantastic match. I think just being a little bit of an older wrestling fan, I expected something of the sort of what happened, but not as badly as what happened. So I obviously thought this was going to be a decent match, but it wasn't going to be a 5-star thriller. I don't think I expected that out of the match, and I'm pretty sure if you had to ask me, I think it was worse than what I expected. Now, I don't want to be disrespectful. When I actually watched the match live, I thought Shawn Michaels was decent. That's what I thought. I don't know. Maybe it's just me having those memories. Oh, finally I get to see Shawn Michaels again. I get to see all these people wrestle each other again. Maybe it was the hype of the moment, but I thought Shawn Michaels had a decent match, and I thought that pretty much everybody else didn't. Now, obviously, the injury with Triple H is a big reason why Triple H didn't have a great match. Kane looked out of it, really, and I can't even remember Undertaker doing much in that match at all. So at the end of the day, it wasn't the best match, but the fans still accepted that match because obviously of the people in it. And again, it's as Michelle McCool said in the documentary, man, it goes in circles. It's a dangerous circle of life with The Undertaker, man. He has one bad match, he needs 3 matches to redeem himself. And it's a vicious cycle that just can't seem to escape. And I wonder if, watching this documentary, it makes me wonder, will The Undertaker actually ever retire? Because when he decides to walk away, it's up to him, right? And that match was AJ Styles, which I'm sure that's happening. That will be talked about, of course, later on. But that match was phenomenal. And if I had to pick a match The Undertaker would leave on, it would be that match. But knowing The Undertaker as the way we are all starting to learn, this guy is addicted to wrestling, man, and it's good to see people like that. Most people would know when to walk away, but this guy, he's so passionate about it that he doesn't want to walk away. And if he feels like he can still do it, then it's his choice at the end of the day. People are still going to watch him and respect him. But that was basically this episode in a nutshell. And I think the problem with most people, as I said before, is that it focuses on the past and not really the future. But you have to look at the past to look at this match and realize the big difference in the level. I think people maybe oversaw that. Maybe people didn't even bother to consider it. But you have to look at WrestleMania 25. That match was amazing. To WrestleMania 26, another amazing match. WrestleMania 27, brutal match. That was brutal. And 28 was an amazing match too. And all these stars are capable of putting on good matches. But obviously 8 years later, 8 years older, Shawn Michaels was retired for 8 years. Triple H wasn't really wrestling at all. Kane was coming in here or there. Undertaker was probably the one that was doing the most matches at the time. But even that is saying something, man, because he did maybe 3 matches prior to that that big match with the Shawn Michaels and Triple H and Kane. And we know what happened. We saw what happened. And of course, Undertaker, being a very good self-reflector, he knows that that match was, he even said it himself, he was out of it that match. And it was a very bad match to watching it back. I watched it back before I did this, and yeah, it was bad. And I still think Shawn Michaels did fairly well. It is what it is. But nah, I think I was blinded then, and I might be a little bit blinded now just because of my love for these guys. But yeah, I feel like that match was a lot left to be desired, and now I can kind of understand why Undertaker wanted to redeem himself once again. And maybe the next episode's going to call the Redemption Part 2. Who knows? I can't. Episode 4 is going to be very interesting, and I can see why people didn't like this episode. But we're leading into another WrestleMania match, man. We're leading into the ending moments of the Undertaker's Last Ride, that documentary. We're leading to the end, and we're going to see how things get portrayed. I really want to know the highlights behind the AJ Styles match. I want to know how they did it. I want to know everything about it, because that's a perfect match, man. That is a perfect match. I know it's not in the ring. It's not a Shawn Michaels and Undertaker. It's not in the ring magic, but it was definitely magic, man. And WWE need more moments like that. And I'm proud that Undertaker, if that is his last match, he was part of a magical moment. And with that being said, that's going to be the end of this Last Ride documentary review and opinion. What did I think of this episode? To be honest, I thought this episode was my favorite. And this was the actual one episode. Usually when I do these reviews, I write things down, and because I don't want to forget things. But this episode, I didn't write anything down. And the reason why is because I was so glued to the screen this episode that maybe because, of course, Melbourne, Australia, the MCG, the performing in Australia, I was there. It gave me sentimental interest. It gave me a perspective where I just knew everything about it already, because how could I not? It's in Australia, man. And I'm sure a lot of Australian fans would agree with me. How could you not see this episode and at least smile knowing that you were there for that moment? 75,000 Australians, or 75,000 mostly Australians, because of course you have everybody around the world coming. Australia's a diverse country, isn't it? So all these people coming to see The Undertaker, coming to see Triple H and Kane, and it was a great show, and it was rightfully deserved to be what it was, man. And it brought good value to me. And I would recommend you watch this episode. But a lot of people that are not me will probably say that this episode wasn't the best compared to the other two. So it all depends on who you listen to. If you want my opinion, my take on it, go watch this episode. Go watch them all, because they've all been good. I've really been enjoying this series a lot. And I hope WWE do more of these. I want to see a Kurt Angle documentary. I want to see a Shawn Michaels documentary. I know that it's going to be a lot more difficult, but maybe you do a John Cena documentary. Do anything, because these are obviously in fashion at the moment when it comes to what people want to see. There's 2 documentaries with Michael Jordan and The Undertaker, and these 2 are only the pinnacle. And that's why there's a potentially LeBron James documentary coming out. We have so much to look forward to, and especially when we're not getting much sports. These are really helping out. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Turn notifications on. Have a wonderful and safe day. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.